Tarun is here too. Okay. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, and in whatever parts of the world you are in. So I'm glad to introduce Mr. Tarun Banga, who is also the board of directors Team MI America and currently serving as one of the QE senior directors in Royal Bank of Canada in Toronto. He's an experienced TMMI accessor and ISTQB advanced level committee member and have more than 33 years of well-rounded software engineering experience. He worked for startups and top technology companies like Adobe, Microsoft, Symantec, and many others, and includes more than 18 years of product QE management and tool development experience. As an accomplished senior information technology management professional with repeated success delivering worldwide range of world-class products to meet the top priority business goals. He has established and managed mobile performance security and has been serving the automation COE from scratch for many companies across the world. He's also responsible and still doing it for budgeting, hiring, preparing the QE roadmaps, pre-sales, performance reviews as and have directed budgets almost 30 millions, grew team sizes to 800 people and more, and generating revenue more than 400 millions across various other organizations. And as a strong people manager, he has motivated people to outperform and to achieve set goals within the budget. And his motivation has been around the world. He has trained people across continents like Europe, Asia, and North America. Please join me in welcoming Tarun and hear his thoughts about automation success, a smarter approach to testing with models. Welcome, Tarun.
Thanks, Arnab. So can you hear me, right?
Yes, Tarun.
Okay, great. So I'm sharing my screen. So not sure whether you are able to see my screen or not. Can you
Uh,
confirm?
yes, I'm able to see your PPT.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So hi everyone. So before I start this topic, I'm going to share the case study on successful test automation. So in my past 34 plus years of experience, I have seen different ways to do automation, and now I'm also seeing how gen AI and other ais are helping us to generate the test cases. So whenever we think of the testing, we always first step is yes, we understand the user story or requirements, right? And then we start thinking about, okay, what should I test? We design the test cases, and then when we execute it manually, then we say, okay, how we can automate it. Then we go to the automation. That was the normal traditional approach. But the core part of the testing is not the automation. Core part is the effective test design. Because if your test cases are not effective, automation may be useless. For example, if you have designed test cases for a particular user story, say you have written 10 test cases, someone can write 15 test cases, someone can write 100 test cases. Which one is better? Do we really need 100, or 10 test cases, are they sufficient? So based on the analysis which I have done, I have been doing from the last 15 plus years this analysis in different organizations. What I have seen is, if you write 10 test cases, there are chances that you may miss something. If you're writing 100 test cases, then there may be chances that yes, there are couple of duplicates, but still you may be missing certain test cases. So how we can figure out that yes, I'm covering my like requirements, or the code I'm testing, my test cases are covering everything. I've done one experiment in my one of the past organization. Of course, I won't name it. So there was one application where we had team has designed 60,000 test cases to test the application, and 100% automated. We were running it on every build. Still, we were getting almost 400 500 customer reported issues every year. So on one side, we are saying that yes, all my requirements are mapped with the test cases, and all my test cases are 100% automated. So we are safe, right? Because 100% test coverage. So what's the gap? So what we did, in fact, was at that time we instrumented the build with the code coverage tool, ran our black box test cases, and try, got the code coverage, and it was just covering 30%. Majority of the test cases were duplicate. That's the core part. If your test cases are not effective and efficient, then automation may be useless. We had automated 60,000 test cases, but we had to just scrap them because we picked only 19,000 out of those 60,000, designed 3,000 more test cases, automated them, and now we had 22,000 test cases, and it was covering 70-80% of the code. So the core part is how you can design the effective test case, and then or automating it is a bonus. So let's see, when my last this case study, when we started this, the topmost, you're seeing that people were manually designing the test cases. Within the sprint, they were executing it manually. Then they were identifying the automation candidates and automating the regression for those. And then, of course, um, maintaining the automation is always a big challenge. When we go to the new feature, we add new feature, we enhance the product or application, then we have to basically modify the test cases, modify the automation, and have to be in sync. So manual test design was a time consuming process. Test case effectiveness was not there because we all are humans, and we all are not same. Someone can think of better test cases, someone can think of best test cases, someone can think of average test cases. So how we can figure out that everyone can do the best? That was the one challenge I have taken. Then of course everyone agrees that manual execution is a time consuming process. No question about that. Now identifying the regression, yes, based on the impact analysis you can cover, but sometimes people can just cover happy paths in the regression to ensure that major workflows are covered, but negative paths are not covered in that automation. And then automating them using the tool by writing the automation code is a time consuming process, right? And people were not able to maintain the in sprint automation also. So all these were the challenges in the traditional approach. And then what we did, we came up with this. If a tester understands the application requirements, means how application works, then they can imagine that okay, what we need to test. So core part is that, can you draw the flow chart of the application requirement or user story? Then we dig down which tools are there to help us. So we identified Confirm IQ, which had an option that you can capture the workflow in a main activity diagram, and then map it with the screenshots with the state diagrams, and then you can blend your all test design techniques, boundary value and ECP as a value tables, and give the XPath. It has a recorder option also. You can navigate to the application, it will record all your elements. And now all these inputs along with the flow of your application we have given to this test engine. I'm calling it a test machine. And what it does, it applies decision table and orthogonal array and symbolic AI to generate the optimized set of test cases. So once we pass all this information in the form of model, this helped me to generate the optimized set of test cases. And then we had built the scripters or plugins, which were basically like, okay, generated test cases are automatically gone to test case management system, and the another scripter to generate my keyword file. And after that, I have developed my own, our own hybrid framework, which supports all the applications like web, mobile, API, or desktop based applications. Any type of applications you can think of, it has a support for that. So now it has major three components: create the models, pass it to this modeling tool, get the optimized set of test cases, and get the automation also. along with that. And that automation goes to the automation framework, verify everything, integrate it with that framework which we had developed, has an integration with our CI/CD pipeline. Boom, it executes. With this approach, we were able to automate 100% of the test cases. And now, during the regression, we can identify which test cases we had to execute for this release versus that release. So that's the mod journey like we started 3 years back. And then it helped us to achieve codeless automation. Majority of the teams testers are defining the requirements or user stories in the form of flowchart. Okay, this is how my application works. Boom. Benefit is that particular flowchart can become a truth table for entire team, right? We reviewed it with dev team, with the BSAs to ensure that nothing is missing. Then we added boundary value data table on the model itself and generated the test cases. So it helped us to basically achieve in sprint automation. It became the single source of truth for test assets and in fact for the application flows also, and integrated with our codeless automation framework, C hybrid framework. Basically we were able to execute it without writing the code. So that's the end-to-end cycle we were able to achieve. And only core important part is effective test cases. After that automation, everyone, you can use ready-made tools, you can develop your own framework, or you can use any, or you can write a code also. It may take some more time, but still it's achievable. So these are the benefits we have got. In QE cost came down by more than 10.5 million every year. Regression execution, previously it was taking between 20 to 30 days, or sometimes 10 to 30 days, I will say, overnight. So we were able to do full regression overnight. Test coverage improved from 50 to 100% because we have done some experiments with running the code coverage there, and our coverage was more than 82%. Code I'm talking about. Test coverage is a separate thing. Test coverage is requirement mapping with the test cases. But code coverage also improved. In sprint automation was 100%, and team size was reduced from 380 plus to 200. Now you can see whatever work 400 people were doing, 200 people were able to do that. We improved the coverage, and not only that, in 3 years we have returned 55 plus $1 million back to the app dev so that we can develop more features, more applications. Our dev to QE ratio was also reduced. Previously it was 1 dev 1 QE, and it was reduced from 1 dev to zero point 0.4 QE. Every month we were executing 80,000 test cases, which means more coverage. And defect slippage came down from 5% to 0.2%. So these are the benefits, like Mark was also talking about, that if you design the effective test case and then, yes, figure out a way how to do end to end cycle automation, boom. But let me tell you some drawbacks. Initially, creating the model was a time consuming task, agreed. But once it's done, then maintaining it may be easier. And Confirm IQ is working on blending the Gen AI with their symbolic AI, which can help us to generate the models also in future. I'm still excited to see those releases which Mark was telling that yes, very soon he will be launching this. So I'm really excited to see that because 50% of the time goes in creating the model, but benefits are more. So I understand that some people who like the coding, they may not like it because there's nothing to code. So automation engineers may not like it, but we have given them the task of helping us to develop the libraries. And we have seen a lot of QE team members who wanted to do coding in automation. They have developed the features for my framework. So that's the benefit we have received so far, right? And then we have compared it with Gen AI also. So what we did was We took one user story and using the prompts and we started giving the prompts and getting the effective set of test cases for that particular user story. And then same thing we did with confirm IQ plus our codeless hybrid CHF codeless hybrid automation framework. And then we have seen that if I have to switch to Gen AI, first problem was in Gen AI, uh, test data generation was easy. It can generate the test steps in the requirement format, uh, like, uh, uh, but results were not consistent. Right now, we all might be seeing that one time it can give me some test case scenarios, another time we ask the similar things, it may give us some other scenarios. So yes, results are not consistent, but those consistency gradually it will improve, I agree. But current state wise, its inconsistency is one channel, and then second is like, okay, reliability, how authentic those test scenarios are. So we still have to review them, and it cannot cover the end-to-end flows also in a way we want it, right? So if you see, these are the details. With Gen AI, it has generated 22 test cases for my uh, user story, and CQ model based generated 14 test cases. Okay, fine. Quality of test cases, there were some duplicate test cases, but those 14 were optimized. Total time it took to prepare the test cases through prompts 15 minutes. Total time we created it took to create the model of, because it was a small user story for the POC purpose. It took 15 minutes. Then another 30 minutes it took to add the data and activity workflow, complete workflow, right? And then we reviewed. I have kept both times same. And then when we generated the automation code using Gen AI, it gave me the snippet. So I had to go down, modify. By the way, I'm still after 35 years hands on. So if you give me any tools, I can use it. But by the way, my team has done this, not me. So uh, whatever code snippet it has generated, we had to like modify the code to make it execute so that we can run it. So it took 30 minutes there. And here we reviewed all the code 10 minutes, just import the scripts in our framework, boom, and then we validated. We spent 10 minutes on the validation, that's it. XPath preparation and all those tasks which we generally do in the UI automation of a web-based application through UI, it took 30 minutes. So overall, with Gen AI, we spent 195 minutes to come up with the automated test suite of 22 test cases. With the model-based approach, it took 95 minutes. And coverage in a model-based were consistent, and it was covering almost like more than 90% of the code. On the left hand side, those 22 test cases were covering 70 to 75% of the code because of the consistency and reliability. So I'm not saying that Gen AI is not good, but Gen AI has to be blended with deterministic approach that can really give us a good result. And this is the live example you can see if benefits of this approach. Consistent and effective test cases, automation scripts are auto generated, test cases are auto generated. Team has to concentrate on understanding the application, which of course every tester has to do it, because without understanding the domain you cannot design the test case. So concentrate on understanding the application, concentrate on understanding the application workflow, convert that into a flow chart, and in future Gen AI may help us in doing that also. And then boom, you got effective test cases, you got effective automation, which is absorbed by your framework, executed through your DevOps pipeline, you're good to go. And then you see the difference in the defect slippage from 5% to 0.2%. Coverage, execution time, everything is increased by 222%. And we need less resources, which means less cost. So that's the benefit I'm talking about. So looks like, am I done, or am I done quickly, or Arnab,
Yeah. Yeah.
how are we in time?
So we do have 10 minutes still. I did have a poll, so I'll get that going as well. So the poll question is, how would
Annab,
you
are you there?
generate? Can you hear me? Uh, you cannot. Can anybody else? Like, if you can hear me, can you give me a thumbs up? No. Okay. Okay. So okay. I think people can hear me. So we did have a poll question on how do you generate test case, and most of it's in 60% manual, 30% automated, and 10% of them says AI generated. Tarun, can you hear us? Did we lose you, Tarun? Okay, so we do have few questions. Tarun, are you there? I think there is some problem with Tarun's audio. So the first question is, do you use from Gary? Do you use here the first test first development approach or not? Um, then if you're there, or else I can pick up the question and answer the best to my knowledge. Okay, I'll take it up. No worries. So Gary, to answer your question, we can kind of do it's mix and match. So technically, we try to follow the BDD model or a TDD model. But what we want to do with the conforming is basically, if you have an end-to-end process, we want to have the structured diagram ready for that. That's the basic flow. And then we put in the data into that particular model so that it generates the various combination. So and based on conform mix process and other AI that already Mark said, we use symbolic AI and all of that, which is not yet in, but the orthogonal array, we do generate the test cases upfront, but it's not a test first development approach yet. Tarun, are you back? Okay, I think we lost Tarun in the audio, but um, I'll take up the second question. Does it help to determine the negative scenarios? The short answer is yes, and it's based on how we do the configuration of the modeling. So if you are feeding the model with the data, which has the negative and the boundary values, yes, your negative scenarios are covered in that particular model. It will be your model would basically generate all the negative scenarios you want with all the boundary values you want. So yeah, it's kind of flexible as of now. So you should be able to get it. Suresh, can you hear me? Like, am I audible or people?
Yes, Satnam. We
Okay,
can hear you.
okay. The next question from Murad is, what are the disadvantages of Gen AI? Well, not really related to this, but yes, based on the last slide, as Tarun said, I won't call it a disadvantage, but the difference between Gen AI and configurable model is you will be feeding the exact scenario, the exact process flow to your conforming model. Your Gen AI may not be able to determine the exact scenario based on the LLM structure they have. So since confirming is more like structure diagram based, and you're giving the flow, it has more knowledge of your system, and it basically uses all the algorithms it has and generates a scenario. That's the reason you saw a difference between Gen AI when we use Gen AI versus when we use confirming. So I'll probably put it in this way. It's not a disadvantage, but Confirmic knows more about your application based on how you input the details. So the test cases are more customized, are more optimized, and also since you're also feeding the data, it gives more valuable outputs. Okay. I think, yeah, Gary, you said model based is better, but with the exceptions that we have a good test designers. Yeah. Otherwise, it'll not be a benefit. Test designers, yes and no. I'll put it that way. If you're experienced, yes, definitely it helps. But even if you're not experienced, you know the flow path of the diagram. It could be in Visio, could be in any platform. You know the end to end of your system. So you have to know your system better, however you are being a test designer. Once you know your system, and once you can build the model, it's very easy. Post that, you also have to know your business to get the data input properly. So that would have all those analysis inside. Now, based on how you generate it manually nowadays, you can come up with, say, 500 test cases, which may be overlap of the flows, if I put it that way. But in this, you will get it optimized because everything in the flow is covered, and you can find that there are probably 50% less test cases than you would have usually generated by manual process. So it helps in there. It covers all the flow, it covers all the risk paths, it covers all the scenarios here and there, and gives you the right set of test case. And the good part is you can change that into the scripts, like into actual executing scripts by means of automation. So um, that's an added benefit of Compamic. Okay, I think we have addressed almost all the questions, and I think we are good. I guess, Suresh. And thank you everyone for joining. Tarun, if you're not, if I'm not sure if you're back, but thank you, Tarun, for your session. It has been a wonderful talking to you, and thank you everyone for joining the session. We'll see you in the next session. Thank you.
Yes.